Good afternoon, Alexandra. Are we ready?
Hello, hello. Hey,
How are you?
welcome. Good, good. I hope you also feel okay.
That's good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get started, and if I have any issues, I'll share some of the questions that were sent in to us on the group. And if you perhaps like to discuss it with your fellow panelists, I'd really appreciate it. Hopefully we won't have any trouble, but just in case, if that's okay.
Of course, of course.
Thank you very much. Let's do then this. Righty. Oh, go live now. We've got Emily. Hi, Emily. Hear us? Anna. Ladies, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
I can.
Hi, I think we've got Hannah.
Yes, I'm here.
You're here. Very good. Well, thank you very much to both of you joining us, ladies, and hopefully Emily will be back soon. I guess it's...
Hi there. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Modern technology is meant to make our life easier and happier, and after all that jazz, we are at least all here. So thank you very much for joining us. This is Startup Talent Q&A. It's our 132nd Q&A that we've done. We used to do these on Clubhouse, and now we're running them on LinkedIn Live Audio. I believe we should also be now live on YouTube and Facebook. So if you are listening either via YouTube or perhaps via Facebook, please be aware that we cannot, I cannot see and monitor your comments there in case you've got any questions. So if you do want to ask us anything directly, you would need to come and join us here on LinkedIn. To do that, you can either go onto our site, StartUp2ScaleUp.club, or where you'll find today's Q&A, or you can just simply come to LinkedIn and search for Startup to Scale Up Club, and you'll be able to find this this session live. So I've got three brilliant ladies with us today. We're going to go through some quick introductions and then open it for questions if there's any from the floor here live. Otherwise, we've got a few that were sent in to us via people have sent it via email, LinkedIn messages, even bleeding Instagram. So we'll try and go through some of those as well. But nevertheless, again, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. My name's Anton Call. I'm an Albanian in London. I used to be heavily involved in startup talent, so I'd embed within their teams, normally right after they get some kind of investments, and I'd help them hire and keep the right people. I now don't do much of that. I'm mainly focused on the Startup to Scale Up Club, as well as helping some other founders with their growth. And lately, I've been doing some work with family offices and angels, helping them do their due diligence and assessment. Now we'll pass it to the ladies in the same order they joined. So Alexandra, Hannah, and then Emily, please.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm Alex. Working in recruitment since 3 years now. I saw already quite a lot. So I was recruiting or building up teams European-wide in the US and Brazil. And now I'm also an entrepreneur working on my own recruitment consultancy and also helping companies to build up their recruitment function. But also I'm heavily involved in headhunting because this is kind of what I really, really like. Yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Alex. Hannah?
Hi, everybody. My name is Hannah Mayер. I'm a Chief People Officer and also a board advisor for tech startup organizations. As a Chief People Officer, I'm currently in a company of circa 600 employees, but also work as a consultant in general sort of COO, Chief People Officer type subject areas for businesses, anything from startup through to typically Series D.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Hannah. Emily.
Hi there. My name is Emily Koolen, and I'm a Canadian who lives in the UK. I've got 25 years of HR people experience, and my current roles are leadership and people advisor and consulting. I'm also an executive and leadership coach, and I operate as a NED for a number of scaling companies and as a mentor at a number of different incubators.
Thank you very much, you all three ladies. I really appreciate your time. And, you know, we've had over 260,000 people join us, but none of this would have happened without the likes of Emily, Hannah, and Alex. So I really appreciate your help. And please do feel free to show them your love. Connect with them here on LinkedIn. Reach out to them if you need any help. Obviously, they can't do everything for free, but I'm sure they'll be willing to help wherever they can. So what we're going to do now, a quick reminder to everyone, we run 4 regular rooms per week. On Mondays, it's talent. Tuesdays, product and tech. Wednesdays, it's growth. And Thursdays, it's fundraising. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time. If you want to RSVP to any of the future sessions, go to StartUp to ScaleUp.club. And now you'll be able to RSVP to events between now and the 19th of December. Otherwise, if you've got any questions today, please feel free to raise your hand. We'll bring you up on stage, you introduce yourself, and then fire away with whatever questions you have. There are no right or wrong questions, by the way, and there's no need to be shy. It's a learning curve for us all. And by the way, today, your questions could be on anything to do with startup talent. So, you know, the whole HR spectrum, basically, from how and where to find the right people, maybe how to find a co-founder, how much you decide you want to pay somebody, how to interview them, how to empower them, and all that jazz. We'll now go on to Mohammed. And by the way, for those of you listening on Facebook or YouTube, unfortunately, I cannot see your questions if you're type in any comments there, so you'll need to come to LinkedIn and just search for Startup to Scale Up Club, and you'll find us, and you'll find this live session. But without further ado, welcome back to our sessions, Mohammed. Please introduce yourself and fire away with any questions you may have today.
Hello everyone, thank you for having me again. My name is Mohammed. I'm the founder of 𝗦𝘁 𝗨𝗨. We actually provide infrastructure for software apps. One of the use cases we are planning to introduce, which is something we would use, but definitely if we use it, doesn't mean that's how we should present it. That's why I'm asking. It's basically regarding staffing. So it could be related to the room today. So it's basically an application called Web3 Stuff, where the users have the ability to post a job that they require, or the freelancer to post a gig, what they can do. It all works through decentralized transactions. However, my question is, would you introduce this into a specific market niche as a staffing, just like programming, for example, just to find programmers? Or would you just introduce it for staffing in general so people can hire other people and have multiple categories? How would you like to see it? And it's called web3stuff.com.
Thank you very much for that, Mohammed. I'll give you my quick 2 pence and then pass you on to the capable ladies. Why do you want to start that? What pain point are you solving that the other job boards out there can't solve?
Basically, it's peer-to-peer agreement between you and the work. So we're gonna cut the percentage, which is sometimes minimum 10 to 30% at some platforms, where here it's gonna be just the transaction cost. And the portfolio will be
10 to 20% of what? Of their salary, you mean?
For example, on Upwork, they take 25%. And freelancers, they take the same amount. Like if I want to pay $1,
work. Okay, I hear.
Yeah, the escrow transaction fee is from 15 to 30%, which is a massive amount, where they are just the mediary between. They're not doing any work.
Okay, and you believe you can do it for cheaper? How much cheaper are we talking about?
$1.
What? Okay, and why can you do it for so cheap?
Because it can be. It's just that the protocol that they can agree on, which is the escrow, that's what basically is they provide, is they hold the funds until the work is done. So the escrow can do that.
I hear, but the point I'm trying to make, Mohammed, is because obviously you want to make this a profitable business, right?
Yep.
So the idea is, why can you do it for $1? Because if you're doing it for $1, how on earth are you going to survive as a business? That's the point I'm trying to get to. Whilst these other companies, because the thing is, these other companies, I don't know, Fiverr or whoever it is, they're not doing, they've already built the platform. They don't need, so in a way, neither of you are now doing, obviously there is work behind the curtain, because you've got to maintain and all that stuff. You've got to maintain your product. But the idea is, why should you be able to do something like this for $1? How are you going to make money from it?
Basically, because I won't be like admin wise, they are managing the disputes and they have a dispute resolution, and they are basically centralized, and that costs a lot of funds. I could afford running it for $1. I can charge 5 and 10 per transaction, basically. Like the whole process could be up to $3 as if I charge $1. However, the transaction cost me way less than that. It's way less than a cent.
Well,
I'm still making money.
No, I hear. My view on something like this, and I've seen, not that I've tried it myself, but I've heard and come across platforms that do peer-to-peer lending, peer-to-peer, quite a bit of peer-to-peer stuff that is, via Web3 or blockchain. And unfortunately, when it comes to these disputes, so let's say I found somebody via your platform, I'm not happy, and there's a dispute, you're still going to have to get involved. Personally,
no.
Why not?
Because what I do, the escrow I provide has a duration, and the protocol which applies to, which is the same by using the 𝗦𝘁 infrastructure, where the escrow has a duration. So if you hire someone to make a logo for you, and the escrow duration is 3 days, and in 3 days time you don't like the logo, you just don't release the escrow and the money will be back to you.
Okay, so basically then what you're doing here, you are pretty much penalizing the people that do the work, because maybe I'm just a nasty customer and I'm just trying to push it for those 3 days. That way I get the logo for free. What happens then?
Well, that's why we have it as a reputation platform where everything is documented and all the users are KYC verified. And they say at the same time, what we are trying to provide, we want to make sure that the service requester has enough funds to cover the cost. And 90% of the people, they want the work done. Maybe 10% will be naughty, then it's going to ruin their reputation.
Okay, I tell you what, because I don't want to take all of the conversation. So we'll pass it on to the ladies. I think Hannah has unmuted, so we can start with Hannah and then Emily and then Alex, please.
Sorry, Antoine, can you just be specific about what the question is for me?
Yes, certainly. So, well, Mohammed is here. Mohammed, do you want to reiterate the question?
Sure. Basically, I'm trying to introduce a new peer-to-peer staffing platform. And my question is, would it be better to target one specific market or just make it for staffing in general and allow people to create categories? That's where I would get your feedback. Like, how would you see that happening?
When you say one particular market, do you mean a particular market of industry or a particular market of job sector?
Industry and location-wise as well as industry-wise? Like, would I just target people who are looking for programmers only? Or, if you get my point, or I would make it just for staffing where they can just request to hire?
I think it's always really important to have a niche that makes you stand out. I think geography, I wouldn't, because I'm assuming this runs off a tech platform which could be accessed anywhere. So I wouldn't limit yourself by geography. But I do think actually knowing who you exist for is important, and that obviously that either is a niche of I'm doing it purely for programmers, we're becoming really well known as being able to offer good service in that area, or it's that actually what your unique selling point is the fact that somebody can come onto your platform and it's for any role, and you do that really well for any role. So my view would be that I would focus in on the thing that you can do really well, and get that moving, get known for that, and then if there's a bigger market you can always expand out from that. But what you don't want is to have a spray approach where you're trying to target every part of the market. You need to hone in on the niche, the thing that you want to be known for, the thing that you can do well, and where you can remove limitations like geography, I would. But I think you need to have a really clear story. You have to know, why would somebody buy from you, and how can you delight that customer, which is why it needs to be something that you can do well as easily as possible and build a name for yourself. Once you've done that, then you can expand out. But I would probably focus in on first of all, as opposed to maybe going broadly in terms of types of roles. But I don't think you should limit yourself by geography, because from what I can see, there's nothing holding you back on geography, because you're not employing anybody, you're not providing a service where it's geographically limited. The only thing maybe you'd need to be aware of things like GDPR and how you'd apply that in a broad geographical sense. But for me, I wouldn't limit yourself by geography, but I would niche in terms of what you can deliver really well to your customer as a starting point.
Yeah, thank you very much, Hannah. Emily, any thoughts on this?
I don't think I have anything to add. I think market research. I mean, who are you trying to compete against? Going B2B versus B2C is a big decision. And I think you need to really understand who your audience is. So that will determine what that looks like, in my opinion, whether it's really niche or if it's broad. So I think that's just going back and really understanding what you're willing to build, what you can build, and who you're competing against.
Thank you very much, Emily. Alex?
I don't think I have anything to add. Emily and Hannah already summed it up quite well. I also would say, Mohammed, that make sure in which kind of direction you would like to go. And again, as Emily just mentioned, a B2B or B2C it's a huge decision. And whenever you have decided actually towards this, then we might also help you, giving you further advices.
Sweet. Thank you very much, everyone. Yeah, very well. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Mohammed, and best of luck with this. One last thing, if I may, just reiterating what the ladies mentioned, really, is to do your research. And maybe before you start building on anything, you might want to talk to what I would call super users. People that do this a lot in terms of that do the work on things like Fiverr, Freelancer, Upwork, all these platforms. Find quite a few people there and speak to them, but also try and find some super users, people like myself, for example, who is useless at tech and has had to find everything on these platforms, but unfortunately have not been able to hire somebody yet full time. So I end up using these. So try to find from both sides, try and find enough people to talk to before you start spending money on this. That would be my definite advice. And once you do that, then maybe you might be able to find somebody who's not necessarily an influencer, but who's got quite a reputation in that market. Because, if if somebody in my market who I appreciate and I respect comes up with an idea and says, look, if anybody wants to try this, give it a go, I would try things if there's someone I can trust. So yeah, that might come in handy, and that's what I would do if I were you. I hope that's useful.
Definitely useful. Thank you very much, everyone, and looking forward.
Well, thank you very much. Rightio, a quick reset of the room. For those of you listening on to, or via rather, YouTube or Facebook, please be aware that unfortunately I'm not able to see your comments if you're typing, or if you've got any questions for us. So if you do want to ask us questions, you need to either go to StartUp-to-ScaleUp.club, and then you'll find today's session, which is Startup Talent Q&A 132, or just come to LinkedIn and type Startup to Scale Up Club, and you'll find today's session. On the other hand, just a reminder, we run 4 regular rooms per week. Mondays it's talent, Tuesdays product and tech, Wednesdays growth, and Thursdays fundraising, and they're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time. And now, once we're waiting for some people to join us here live, we'll go with some questions, if that's okay with the ladies. So, this is from a fintech who's trying to build decentralized finance solutions. They're based in London. They're at seed stage. The founder is a ex-investment banker. He was a VP. Now, the problem that he has is attracting engineers from traditional finance. How do I poach senior engineers from large banks when their risk tolerance is lower and they are reluctant to leave secure jobs? It is really important for me to have at least a couple of engineers that come from these banks rather than people that haven't been there and done this, because they won't understand our clients. So again, the question is, how do I poach senior engineers from large banks when their risk tolerance is lower and they are reluctant to leave secure jobs? Maybe this time we can start with Alex, then Emily, then Hannah, please.
I don't know, Anton, if you know this answer, but so he is looking for senior engineers from banks because they understand their clients.
Their clients, yes. Now,
And
he hasn't gone to explain much, but he says that he's building fintech for decentralized finance solutions. So I'm assuming he would offer, just for argument's sake, he may be offering loans or some kind of debt, and then he does that as an in-betweener between the various mortgage brokers or whatever other out there, and then he's like the middleman. So I'm assuming he needs these engineers to understand how the banking architecture is done in terms of the computer side, the tech side, so that they can then build these systems for his startup and do a better job. And because he's also mentioned clients, I'm assuming he may be also offering some services or something to these banks. I don't know, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, so I think there's already a lot of fintechs on the market, and I'm quite sure that a lot of engineers are already working for those fintechs, which have actually this kind of background coming from banks, or even like gain this kind of knowledge within fintechs. So maybe it's also worth to take a look at big fintech companies around the world, or I don't know how limited he is on the location, and also find these people which are already working in startups, which already worked in banks, because I'm quite sure that quite a lot of people you can find a lot of people there. And then also I would love to understand, and this is why I asked, like, is it like, do they need the technical knowledge, or is it also like, can you learn out of this kind of technical knowledge? So maybe you can also find people which are less risk averse, but bring in a similar skill set, and they also can work towards this kind of product. This is which is coming into my mind right away. But probably Emily and Hannah also have really good ideas.
Emily, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think, I mean, Alex had some great ideas. I think one of the things I would probably shift a little bit, if it's possible for this individual, is to maybe not consider poach versus attract. Because the challenge is if you aren't offering something that is going to actually really, really attract them, it won't matter where they're coming from. So yes, security is an issue. I always argue that there's no real secure roles anywhere, anytime, anymore. But I think you need to figure out, what are you offering? What is that differentiator between the big companies? If that's actually the skill set you need, what is the differentiator? Is it the excitement? Is it the growth? Figure out exactly what that offering looks like. And it doesn't have to be money. It can be the whole range of incentive that will motivate people. So I think if you can really narrow that in, then you can figure out where you may be able to target. But you have to be super, super clear on the skill set you need and why you're asking. Just because they worked at let's say Barclays, doesn't mean they're actually what you need. Don't be fooled by their employer's title versus their own work experience. So I think that's probably the approach I would take, is really focus on the attraction versus the sort of targeting certain areas and kind of considering it in that sort of poaching way. I don't know if that helps or adds any more, but that's what I would say.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Emily. Hannah?
I'm not sure what else I would add to that, other than, and this is not something that this is not advice I would normally give in sort of standard situations, but I do think if you are trying to, if you're a startup, or you're in that growth phase and there is less stability, maybe financially, and you're trying to attract from not just a big bank, but it could be any bigger organization, or whether it's perceived to be a more stable organization, then I think you could always nuance your package to provide adjustments in your benefits, for example, that might help you to attract certain audiences. So, for example, pension. Often maybe in a tech startup, you'd have a minimum pension percentage that you would pay into somebody's pension pot. If you're coming from the likes of Barclays, the percentage of pension that your employer will pay is likely to be higher than that. So you might want to think about the overall package, and thinking about, can you provide increased benefits in areas which gives the kind of optics of stability and is giving a more like for like package for them. And you can always adjust the salary maybe a little bit lower to accommodate for that, or you could offset equity or whatever you might be offering. But I would be thinking about your all-round benefits package. And for me, certainly when I've had people challenge me in a more startup environment around, they love the job, they love the company, but they're a bit concerned about moving from their bigger organization. Pension is one that has often come up, or private healthcare, for example, is something that may have come up. So that would be something to think about. But the other thing I would just say is I would really second what Emily said about, do not be fooled or fall into the trap of thinking that somebody has come from a big organization, therefore they must be amazing. That does not track. And actually, I would be asking yourself, why is it you're looking for that particular big organization, and could you find that skill set somewhere else? Because brand doesn't mean necessarily a brilliant talent, or the right talent for you. So that's just something to be aware of, because I often see people falling into that trap of saying, I really want somebody from Amazon, for example, because Amazon are amazing. But actually, there are lots of places you could find exactly the same talent and probably a better fit for you.
Those are some very good points, and thank you very much, ladies. Personally, I'm not even going to get into the, is this the right thing to do? The ladies have covered that pretty well, very well, actually. What I would do in terms of, once you've done what the ladies have advised in terms of really understanding whether this is something you need to do, and if you really think it is, the ladies have touched a bit on the other offers, so not the security. but the other stuff that may be useful. Some of the things, and I've had to do this numerous times, unfortunately, in the past, where I needed to attract people from more established matrix sort of global large organizations to startups. And what I've had to do in those situations is look at the flexibility, especially now. If you look at what's going on out there in the corporate world, most companies are asking people to come in and work from the office either full-time or a few days a week, etc. What you also need to understand is that there's a lot of people that have actually moved out during COVID, and they weren't looking forward to going back. So that's a population you could go after. Another population you could go after is youngsters who aren't too bothered about private healthcare for their families and so on. And another demographic that would be really useful is people that are early-ish. So I know you say senior engineers, but these people could be good engineers that are early-ish, and they want more opportunities to learn, they want more freedom, and they also want more opportunities to grow. And if you are in a lucky position to either already have a good sort of potential clientele or good investment, then you can also throw in and dangle the shareholder carrot and have a pool for those early employees. And I think that could come in quite handy, because, you know, if you can convey to them that if and when this company either goes public or exits between now and the next 5 to 10 years, they might end up making millions and gazillions. They might be interested to have a look at what you've got to offer rather than the corporate that they're currently with. That would be my advice. Right, well, thank you for that, ladies. A quick reset of the room then. This is Startup Talent Q&A. We're doing this to help founders with any questions you may have on your hiring journey, whether you want to know how to find a co-founder, how much to pay them, or perhaps where and how to find those early stage employees, how to interview them, how to make sure that they're who they say they are in terms of what they can achieve. Maybe how do you decide what are some of the duties that a certain role needs to have, and so on. So all that jazz, this is the place to be. All you need to do is raise your hand. We'll bring you up on stage, introduce you, and then fire away with your questions. By the way, there are no wrong or right questions, and there's no need to be shy. It's a learning curve for us all. If, however, you are listening via YouTube or Facebook, please be aware that we're not able to monitor whatever questions you may type there. Therefore, you would need to either go to LinkedIn and search for Startup to Scale Up Club, and you'll eventually pretty soon find the event, or you can just go to startup-to-scaleup.club, and there you can find today's event, which is Startup Talent Q&A 132. By the way, a quick reminder, we run 4 regular rooms per week: Mondays talent, Tuesdays product and tech, Wednesdays growth, and Thursdays fundraising, and they're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time. And if you found any value in this so far, we've got 26 minutes to go this with your other social media platforms. Nevertheless, we can now maybe go to another question that was sent in to us. This is a B2C app for guided meditation. It's sisters in Bath. They're pre-stage, and one of them is a yoga instructor, and the other one an accountant. The problem they have is that they both lack technical backgrounds, and they want to know, how can we validate a technical co-founder's abilities when we have no technical expertise whatsoever ourselves? And we keep getting told that we definitely need to have a tech co-founder for what we're trying to build. So again, the question is, how can we validate a technical co-founder's abilities when we have no technical expertise ourselves It's a yoga instructor, an accountant, and they're both sisters, and they want to launch a B2C app for guided meditation. They're based in Bath. Maybe this time we can start with Emily and then Alex and Hannah.
Great. So I think as a startup, I think this is actually one of the easier situations because if they've got the passion for the product and the service, and they know intimately the audience. So if it's again yoga, you know, they're doing mindfulness and yoga and all these things. Sounds like they know that audience. Finding the technical is the easier part, in my opinion. I've seen a lot of technical startup creators or founders who actually don't necessarily have a passion for the audience, but they see an idea. So I think it's actually easier to start with the why, start with the audience, and really be able to get there. You can outsource the technical. And there's brilliant groups out there. I would check them out, give them each, you know, small test or whatever. I'd probably, my own opinion is you don't need to go on Fiverr or any of those ones. I think there's other ways of finding the technical. Be clear on what you want to start, set some really clear expectations, maybe give a technical group a test, whether it's a development team that's outsourced from a different country, or, you know, find an intern or somebody who is willing to do it as a bit of a kind of moonlighting and side project. But I personally think the technical aspect is easier to outsource than the passion, the why, the audience piece. So, you know, be really understand what you want. Are you asking them to develop an app, the whole thing from start to finish? Are you just asking them to do the wireframe or the MVP? What are you asking them to do? Speak to an advisor, get somebody maybe as a NED or somebody, you know, equity base if needed, on your team who is technical. That doesn't mean they're going to do the technical. That's always, you have to be clear on what the expectations are, but they could at least advise as to where that starting point would be. The other thing you can do is, you know, there's some very, very good early stage incubators out there that to explore that, you know, you don't need to have all of those things in place. They will help support and connect you with those things. So.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for that, Emily. Hannah.
I think Emily made some really good points. The only thing that I can think about that I know other people have done is to reach out to technical recruiters, and it could be you know, it could be a company, it could be an individual, and to get them to help you shape what you're looking for, the sort of the questions you might ask, and actually will be prepared to sit in an interview or in the interviews with you, to sort of give you that more technical knowledge. The other thing I would just say is, and sorry, Emily cut out there for a bit, so hopefully I'm not repeating what Emily said. Think about your startup network. You know, there must be other people in your network that you could reach out to that have got technical skill that could maybe buddy up with you to help you through that kind of preparing for questions and sort of interview type process, because you'll always be able to offer something back to them. So as long as there's a bit of give and take in terms of the time that you're offering to each other, then I don't see a problem with that personally. And I certainly know other areas. So for example, I've got somebody in my network that I do actually have a lot of product knowledge and product department knowledge, but I know somebody who's particularly brilliant, and if I'm interviewing for a product director or product head of product, for example, he'll typically come and help me with those interviews, just because, you know, if you're looking for something really special, he will see that in that person from a technical perspective, and I wouldn't necessarily pick up on all that. So and he does that for me for free, because then I provide him some sort of advice back. So I think be a bit creative about who you know, who you could ask, and maybe what you could offer back in return, if, you know, you don't want to go out to other places where you might have to pay for help.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Hannah. Alex, any thoughts on this?
I think Emily and Hannah already mentioned quite a lot of good things. To maybe wrap it up, it's, yeah, as someone who has this technical knowledge, I've been also in the quite similar situation where I exactly know what I want, but I don't have the technology background. So I asked one of my friends, and he helped me and to also connected me with a person who can actually help me. So maybe you have someone in your in your surroundings who could actually help you. You explain very well what you want, because it sounds like that you already know what you want, and then this person might also can help you to connect you with the right person to actually build up the product you would like to have, and then also this, and as Hannah already mentioned, this person might also help you to ask the right questions to figure out if this is the right person for you to help.
Well, that's brilliant. I'm going to refrain from trying anything clever, because obviously I can't come up with anything cleverer than this. But what I'd like to do is just kind of pick on a few of the stuff that the ladies mentioned. I really like the accelerator idea or incubator. If you can find somebody to do that, again, it depends how much bootstrapping or investment you've got and how much runway. But if you can find an accelerator, especially if you can find one that is also willing to invest in you, that's even better. But if you can at least find one that, even if they don't invest, at least they'll put you in touch with the right people and they'll help you build and go to market, you definitely want to do that. Number two, again, if you really think you do need a technical co-founder, then a good idea to go about things is, like the ladies mentioned, start with people you know. Maybe, I think it was Emily who first mentioned, start with finding an advisor, somebody who's tech that you know and somehow trust. That can be an advisor either in exchange for equity or perhaps for some kind of fee. But ideally, you want somebody who's got skin in the game, so some kind of equity instead, to advise you on your tech journey. And that includes what you need to build and also the finding of a co-founder and so on. And if it is something that just needs to take you to the next stage and you've got the money, if you do have a decent advisor, you can actually build an MVP with a good MVP with people that you outsource it to. But again, I do see the value in having a tech co-founder, and I think it's really good. It's just that it's not easy to find one. But if you do go for it, try the accelerator / incubator, because they'll help you find one that works and removes the guesswork from you, or two, find the advisor that I think Emily mentioned first. Rightio, we now have 17 minutes to go. This is Startup Talent Q&A. We do this every Monday from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time. We're now simultaneously live on Facebook and YouTube. If you're listening via those platforms, please be aware that unfortunately I'm unable to monitor your comments there. So if you do have any questions, please jump onto LinkedIn and search for Startup to Scale Up Club, and you'll be able to find us, or go to our website, startup2scaleup.club, and you'll find today's session, which is Startup Talent Q&A 132. So it's our 132nd session. We've had, since the 29th of March 2021, we've had over 260,000 people join us. That was mainly on Clubhouse. We're now on LinkedIn and need all the help we can get in terms of spreading the word. So please do feel free to share this or comment and engage with our session. By the way, we run 4 regular rooms per week: Mondays talent, Tuesdays product and tech, Wednesdays growth, and Thursdays fundraising. And now perhaps we can go on to another 1 or 2 questions. Okay, this is an interesting one. We're working on an AR platform for virtual home design. We're based in Newcastle. We are planning to go through to Series A, and I'm an interior designer, and my wife, it's a lawyer. The problem we have is that building an in-house tech team after outsourcing. Okay, that doesn't make sense. All right, so I'm guessing they want to. Okay, I'm guessing they outsource it now, and now that they're going for Series A, they want to build it in-house. So the question is, how do I transition from a primarily outsourced tech team to an in-house one without losing momentum on product development. So again, it's an AI platform for virtual home design. This sounds to me like two founders, husband and wife. They're based in Newcastle. It says Series A, so I'm assuming they're going for Series A. So I'm assuming they're going to raise for Series A. And they now want to build an in-house team without losing momentum on product development. So far, it's been outsourcing. So maybe this time we can start with Alex, and then Hannah, and then Emily, please.
Yes. First of all, congratulations on raising Series A. Always super exciting times. It also means that you might grow a little bit bigger within your team. And also a brave decision to actually not having the tech team right away internally. But I think this was a cost situation. So I'm not an expert in towards this, but my first idea is, which comes into my mind, is that you're doing this parallel, right? So you already have this outsourced team, which is already working on your product. And then step by step, you're hiring internally the people you need. And here, please make sure to really figure out, okay, which kind of tech people do I need first to develop this product, and also that no knowledge is going missing. So probably you need, first of all, a product manager, and then, I don't know, like the first engineer for that. And then also the product manager can already translate into your business and into your own company what is already done. And then also building out the roadmap, the project plan to go ahead with the development. And at the same time, the outsourced team is still working on your product. And then, as I said, like step by step, you also find the right tech people for your team. It might also take a little bit longer because so this is my experience. It's not that easy to find really good tech people, especially in a rather smaller startup environment. And then, having the right people in place, and then you also can let go of the outsourced team. So this is I'm rambling a lot because I'm not 100% sure if this makes sense.
No worries. You're on the right track.
Okay.
And I understand.
So I will, so probably someone else has a more structured way to do it, or like a more structured idea to do it.
That's fine. Thank you very much, Alex. Hannah.
Sorry, could you just repeat the question just so I'm absolutely clear on it?
No, that's all right. So, AI platform for virtual home design in Newcastle. We're going for Series A. So I'm assuming they're going to apply for investment. They don't have it because it's not very clear on this. And then he goes on to say, I'm an interior designer. My wife's a lawyer. So again, another assumption, they're co-founders here. Problem, building an in-house tech team after outsourcing. And then question, he says, how do I transition from a primarily outsourced tech team to an in-house one without losing momentum on product development? So again, so far the tech team has been outsourced. Now they want to have it in-house, but they want to do it in a way that they don't lose momentum on both product and development.
I think the first question I would ask is, why do they want to move it in-house? Because I think some companies sort of think you get to a certain size, you should move your teams in-house. And I don't know that that's necessarily the right answer for everyone. What I would say is that when it comes to things that involving your intellectual property, so your IP, then that potentially the work on that I would move in-house. But I think actually having a blend of both is a good thing. And actually sometimes completely outsourcing your tech but having your product in-house can also be a good thing. So I think I'd be asking the question of, what is it because you've got to the stage you've got to that you think now that you have to bring everything in-house? Or is there specific reasons to why you need to do that? What benefit is it going to add to you and delivering the plan that you have for the business? So that would be the first thing that I would say.
Can I interrupt that quickly, please, Hannah? This is just my experience, though, but in general, and I think now I'm starting to understand his question. If you're going for institutional, especially, so what I would call VCs and various other more established investors rather than angels, they do which normally at Series A, that's who you go after, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they do in general kind of bang on about you having the domain knowledge or domain ownership in-house rather than outsource it. So in a way, I kind of get where they're coming from. Sorry to interrupt, but I just thought that.
Do
was
you mean
important.
you're talking about the ownership of the domain, the intellectual property, you mean?
Yes, but in a way, they kind of but they actually go beyond that. They say it needs to be in-house because then you have a better chance of keeping that in-house and developing it and also pivoting whenever it's needed and so on. But I've seen almost every occasion that I've come across, especially at that stage, so Series A, I have seen investors kind of lean towards getting them to have this thing in-house. That's why. But sorry, go on.
I think, I mean, if it is a case that you have to move it in-house, then I think the key thing is, and I think this is Alexandra mentioned before, is about just making sure you've got a good transition. So you want to make sure that there's a crossover period, and maybe you're retaining that outsourced provision for a period of time to make sure you've got that continual thread of knowledge whilst you bring that team in-house. I don't think I could probably, based off that, I don't think there's anything extra that I could add into beyond what Alexandra has said. But I do think it's important to make sure you've got a continuum of knowledge until you've at the point where you've completely handed that over.
That makes sense. Thank you very much for that, Hannah. Emily, any thoughts on that?
I echo what both Alex and Hannah said. I have seen a lot more, especially series investors, putting those decisions a little bit more into the founders' hands. And I think there's probably arguments to be had for both. I think, in my opinion, as the company is likely going to evolve quite a bit as they move through the series, that a blend is actually your best bet. So I think it was Alex who said, have somebody sort of like an engineering lead or a tech lead in-house, but then have the flexibility of an outsourced team. So it may be that, there's one or two key players in-house and the rest is flexible. The challenge with bringing everybody in-house is, first of all, it's going to be a lot more expensive, usually, with a lot less flexibility. So if suddenly there's a little bit of a pivot or a demand or something, that you may not have the skill set if you've brought them all in-house under an old skill set requirement. So I'm a big fan of having that blend. I also, and maybe this is a bit controversial or just spicy, but I'm also a big fan of founders not always giving into every demand that the investors say. Because if they feel comfortable with their outsourced arrangement and they don't see the reason why, to Hannah's point, like there's no concrete reason other than maybe an investor said so, they should be able to push back. And if they can't push back, I always question, is the investor the right one, or do they have the best interests? So I'm a big fan of, really do what you need for your company, but give yourself that agility, flexibility, and adaptability that it's going to be required. Because again, if they've gotten, congratulations, Series A, that's amazing, but there's still a long way to go towards Series B and more. So there's going to need to be a lot of flexibility.
Well, thank you very much for that, Emily, and huge thanks to Alex and Hannah as well. I think I might be repeating most of the stuff that Alex said, but if you do have to go into it, and again, both Hannah and Emily made some good points that you may actually not need to do this, but if you do then doing it in tranches, and I think Alex touched a bit on that, I've seen that work myself in the past, and I've seen that work well. So depending on how good your relationship with the outsourced company is, I think that can work well. And hey, you might even be able to speak to the people that run that agency or whatever, venture studio, whatever you want to call it, tech studio, and see if you can actually hire some of those people, or at least on loan in your company, and then they sort of hold hands with whoever you hire in-house. I've seen that work as well, but what you don't want to do is poach them and steal them from this agency that you already have a relationship with. And that's what I would do if I were you. Now, we've got 5 minutes to go. And I think rather than, unless there's a quick question here live in the audience, we're not going to go through any more of the questions that were sent in to us. So maybe we could go for some main do's and don'ts, if the ladies don't mind, before we wrap it up. So perhaps this time we can start with Hannah, then Emily, then Alexandra. What are your biggest do's and don'ts when it comes to early stage hiring, ladies? Hannah?
I think I go back to a point that we made earlier about where you hire from. And I think it's really important to understand what is the culture you're trying to build in that organization? What are the skill sets that you need in order to get that business off the ground and get that early growth? What are the skill sets you need that you don't have as a founder, so you can build a well-rounded skill set? And then think about where you'd find that talent. And I think you need to be looking right across the board in terms of where that talent might be. And it might be that is in a bigger brand and you're looking for somebody, or a bigger business, like we mentioned earlier, like Amazon and Barclays, and where they've got really well-established frameworks, well-established working practices. They do great training with the teams that they have within those businesses. And actually you can benefit from that and that stability and that training those people have received, and the skill sets they have and where they are in terms of their career fits with the skill set and that you need for you to build your business. But equally, I think you also need to be including smaller businesses, the ones that sort of maybe people don't think about every day, and looking at, well, what do those businesses have that could really benefit me? How do they nurture those employees? What am I going to get from an employee who might come from one of those businesses? So I think when you're thinking about the skill set you need in a business, you need to think about, what do you need now? What do you need that you can scale from? So somebody who's going to join you that can maybe scale in the early stages of the business and stay with you for a while. And what don't you have as a founder in terms of skill set or knowledge that you need to make sure you bring in to complete the team in order to get you moving fast, or as fast as possible in the right direction, so that you can build your business and then hopefully get to the next stage. So I think that's the one that's probably my main learning, is don't pigeonhole yourself in terms of where you find talent from, but be really clear about the skill set that you need, the gaps you have, the gaps that you need to fill, and also the behaviors, the people that you're bringing in to help you to develop the culture and that you want to build, but also to create the best team cohesiveness that you can.
Thank you very much for that. Emily?
I would echo everything that Hannah said, but I think one of my top tips always is do not hire in the image of yourself. Make sure that you're hiring people who are going to fill those gaps, as Hannah said, but challenge you healthily, and properly, but that are going to challenge you. If you're hiring people who look like you, carbon copy, maybe background engineering, education and such, that's a problem. You need to build out that diversity of your team for diversity of thinking, diversity of action, everything. So that's always my top tip, is never hire in the same image as yourself.
Thank you very much, Emily. Last but not least, Alex.
I love what Emily just said. I just put a LinkedIn post today about biases, and this one was about conformity bias, like hiring the same people which you are similar to, actually. So I like this point. Thank you so much for that, Emily. I mean, a big do is stay positive. Very, very important. Stay positive, especially in a startup environment, hiring people. And just what Hannah said, like, be really sure what you need and don't hire just to hire because you need these people. And I understand the urgency, but really make sure that you hire the right people. And for that, you need to make sure what you actually need.
Ladies, you have been absolutely brilliant today, and I'm very grateful for your help, time and input, really. So thank you. A quick reminder to everyone, those of you listening here on LinkedIn or perhaps YouTube or Facebook, this has been Startup Talent Q&A. It's our 132nd session. We used to do these on Clubhouse. We now do it here on LinkedIn Live Audio mainly. And we need all the help we can get to spread the word that we've moved home. Now, we run 4 regular rooms per week. On Mondays, it's talent, Tuesdays, product and tech, Wednesdays, growth, and Thursdays, fundraising. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time. And we would love to help as many of you as we possibly can. Now, in terms of how you do this, you can go on to StartUp to StartUp and you can RSVP to any future sessions you wish. As far as my parting words are concerned, just remember the startup journey can be both exciting but also quite challenging. So try to have some fun in the meantime and be kind to yourself and everyone else. Otherwise, huge thanks again. Have a great rest of the week and God bless you all. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow for Startup Product and Tech Q&A. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.